ocean and man. The next is distribution of ocean temperature. You know children, temperature varies in different latitudes, isn't it? The highest temperature is recorded in between 10 degree latitude on either side of the equator. As we move away from the equator, temperature decreases considerably. So, the temperature falls to 10 degree in the mid latitude and up to -2 degree in the polar regions. The major reason for the variation in the temperature of different latitude is the variation in the amount of insolation received in the Earth's surface. Okay, the ocean currents and also winds influences the temperature of seawater. So, analyze the variation of temperature along different latitudes from figure 5.2. Okay, and the next side heading is salinity of seawater. What is meant by salinity? Saltiness, isn't it? Seawater is salty, as we all know. The average amount of saltiness in seawater is 3.5%. This water can be purified by separating salt from it. The concentration of salt content in seawater is known as salinity. Underline that sentence. The concentration of salt content in seawater is known as the salinity. Okay. It is expressed as the grams of salt present in 1000 grams of water. Underline that too. The average salinity of seawater is 35 parts per million and is recorded as 35 parts per milli. Okay. This means that 35 grams of salt is present in 1000 grams of seawater. Salinity is not uniform across ocean. So, salinity is not uniform. It has some variations. The conditions leading to the variation in salinity are this. Salinity will be more in landlocked seas. Salinity increases in areas of high evaporation, and also salinity decreases in areas where snow meltwater reaches in large quantity in polar regions. Okay. Salinity decreases at river mouths, and also heavy rainfall leads to the reduction in salinity. So, these are the major reasons or the conditions leading to the variation in salinity. Okay. Salinity varies from ocean to ocean and at different depths. The next is density of seawater. Density of seawater is not uniform everywhere. This is due to the variation in salinity and also the temperature of seawater. Density decreases as temperature increases. Listen, density decreases as temperature increases, and it increases as salinity increases. It increases, that means density increases as salinity increases. You have understood that the temperature, salinity and the density of seawater are not uniform everywhere. These variations lead to movements in seawater. So, this variation leads to the movements in seawater. And let's look into the movements of seawater and also the reason for it. Okay. The movements of seawater are waves, tides and ocean current. Okay. The first one, waves. Look at figure 5.3. The up and down movement or motion of the water along the surface of the sea is called sea waves. Underline that sentence. Okay. And look at the figure 5.3. You can understood that the wavelength, the waves and the wavelength and also the trough and crest. Okay. The summit of the wave is known as wave crest. The summit of the wave, that means the highest point, the peak point of the wave is known as the wave crest. And the bottom part, the lower part or the bottom part is known as wave trough. Okay, the distance between two adjacent crests is known as the wavelength. The distance between the two adjacent crests are known as the wavelength. And the vertical distance between the crest and the trough is the wave height. And the vertical distance is the wave height, and the distance between one crest and the another is known as the wave length. The friction exerted by winds on the ocean surface is the reason for waves. Underline that sentence. The friction exerted by winds on the ocean surface is the reason for waves. Okay. As the speed of the wind increases, the strength of the waves also increases. Definitely the speed of the wind increases, the strength of the waves also increases. Strong waves generated as a result of the severe winds such as cyclones and cause of shelling of shores, etc. You might have read the news in dailies regarding the sea surges during the southwest monsoon season in June and July. Okay, so many news, daily newspaper we are reading, so many newses. Okay, these sea surges cause severe damage along the shores. So these sea surges makes damages to the seashore. Some measures are taken to prevent damage and to protect the lives of the people living in coastal areas. First one, depositing boulders along the seashore, and also construction of interlocking concrete structure, and also planting of mangroves. The sand moved back and forth by the waves is deposited as sandbars due to the particles being blocked by each other. Then this in nature's solution to protect the shores from the sea surge. So you might have heard about the tsunami of 2004, is it? The earthquakes and volcanoes on the ocean floor generate monstrous waves that are disastrous. So such natural disasters also takes place. And such sea waves are known as seismic sea waves or tsunami waves. So these are the disaster waves. These waves moved at a speed of up to 800 km per hour. Okay. And the next is tides. Tides are the periodic rise and fall of water level in the ocean. The rise in the water level of ocean water is the high tide, and also the lowering of water level is known as the low tide. Underline that sentence. Okay. The rise in the level of ocean water is known as the high tide, and also the lowering of or the decrease of the water level is known as low tide. Let's look into the reason for tides. Okay. Tides are formed as a result of the gravitational pull exerted by the moon and also the sun, along with the centrifugal force due to the Earth's rotation. Underline that sentence, it's very important. Tides are formed. The formation of tides is the gravitational pull exerted by the moon and also the sun, along with the centrifugal force because of the Earth's rotation. Okay. Now let's look at the figure 5.4. The water level on the part of the earth facing the moon rises. Okay. The rise in water level due to the gravitational pull exerted by the moon leads to this high tides. And you might have noticed that the water level at the opposite side is also risen. Okay. The centrifugal force due to the Earth's rotation is the reason for this rise in water level. Okay. it can be seen that the water level goes down at places located 90 degree away from the places of the tidal influences. Okay, this is due to the draining of water towards the tidal regions. The phenomena of fall of water level is known as low tide. Okay, high tide and low tide. Now, in addition to the gravitational pull of the moon, the gravitational pull exerted by the sun also causes these tides. Though the moon is smaller than the sun, its attraction is more powerful than that of the sun, and hence it is because of this nearness to the earth. Okay, and the next is spring tide and neap tide. Look at that figure 5.5. The sun, moon and earth come in the straight line on full moon day and also new moon day. The tidal force will be intense due to the combined influence of sun and moon. As a result of this, tides formed on these days will be stronger. So these strong tides are known as spring tides. Okay, the moon and the sun will be at an angular distance of 90 degree from the earth after 7 days from the full moon day and also or the new moon day. As the sun and the moon attracted the earth from an angular distance of 90 degree, the tide caused are weak, and such weak tides are known as neap tides. So, the strong tides are known as spring tides and the weak tides are known as neap tides. Note the position of the earth, moon and also the sun in the given figure 5.6. And the next is effects of tides. High tides and low tides have many effects. What are that? The debris means waste, dumped along the seashore and ports are washed off to the deep sea. The formation of deltas is disrupted due to the strong tides. Brackish water can be collected in salt pans during high tides. And the next is the fishermen make use of tides for going and returning from the sea in catamarans. Catamarans means payakappal. Okay. Tidal energy can be used for power generation. And the last effect of these tides are ships can be brought to shallow harbors during the high tides. Okay, so that's all for today. Hope you all are studying well. Thank you, my dears. All the best.